Welcome back to the upper tier, everybody. This is your Premier League preview. Quite a short one this week because we only have Man United versus Brighton during the week, but we'll be bringing you the full one for the weekend, no doubt, later on in the week. Joining me tonight for this preview, my partner in crime on these podcasts, Dazzler. How we doing, Darren?
Oh, good, brother. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Good to have you on. We said we should definitely get on and jump on and have a chat about this game in light of everything that's going on. When you take everything into account, top four race, recent results, all the infighting, outfighting, all the stuff that's going on at the moment. It's a crazy time at United at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, somebody's taking a couple of the cards away and the house of cards is falling down, isn't it?
Yeah, somewhat. This is an interesting one for us as well, because people who know and view the show would know that we're big fans of Graham Potter and big fans of how Brighton play for him, I should say.
Yes.
What's your thoughts going into this? Is a tough one to look for a result from, isn't
it? Yes and no. I suppose this is a game ordinarily United would look at and think Brighton at home, 3 points, But we know that's not the situation we're in at the minute. We know that that's not how things have been going for us. I think, personally speaking, the performances have gotten a little better over the last few weeks. I think the inability to finish games off is obviously an issue right now. But I still feel like we're playing reasonably well. We're not shipping tons of goals. We're not shipping tons of chances. Teams are getting a goal against us, but if we can pick up 2 or 3, I'd be happy enough to feel like that we could get through the game without, shipping too many that they could get into it. I just feel like we need to get that first goal and then keep the foot on the accelerator or push a bit harder. Because for me, like even watching the game on Saturday against Southampton, we scored the first goal and they just dropped off massively. Like until they scored the first, everything looked like it was good. Everybody looked like they were at it. You thought, this is a great start, We'd had a couple of opportunities before we got the first goal. But when the first goal went in, everybody just sat back, looked at each other and went, is that it? We done now? You just thought, wow, what's going on here, And then in the second half, like you concede the goal very early in the second half. Good finish from Shay Adams. But then you're fighting uphill then, to try and get another one. Because dragging yourself out of the doldrums almost, when you're just ticking over and going through the motions, it's very tough, especially when you play teams like Southampton who are very, very up for it, cover the pitch very, very well, everyone to a man, put the shift in, you don't have that at the minute. We're going into games and you're looking at team sheets and you're kind of thinking there's 11 players on the pitch, but maybe there's only 8 of them pulling in the right direction, and it's very hard to do that.
Yeah. Would you say is it a physical fatigue or a mental fatigue that seems to be happening? Because when I look at this Brighton game coming up, you have United there in the last few games who have struggled to maintain, say, 90 minutes or put in a 90-minute shift. And then you have Brighton, who are the epitome of a 90-minute shift. They put in 100 minutes for Graham Potter every week. They never give up, and we've seen it with the amount of late goals they've scored in terms of equalisers, in terms of winning goals and stuff like that. They never give up fighting for them.
Yeah, I suppose for me, looking at it straight away, that would tell me it's a mental thing because, Brighton at the minute don't look like they're going to be beaten. They always look like they'll do enough to get a result out of a game. They know, 93rd, 94th minute, they keep knocking on the door. Someone's going to open it eventually and knock one in. Like, I feel like United could be there till 112-minute days and they wouldn't get the opportunities that they need and nobody would take them and stuff like that. So I do think it's a mental thing. I know Ralph has spoken about, he has a psychologist involved to try and get the lads into the right mindset to go and finish games of football off. Like, I got to be honest, I think that's a massive pile of shite, isn't it? I really do.
Yeah. It was interesting the other day. I seen a tweet there. I don't know if you've seen Shay Adams' tweet there the other day. He tweeted at halftime. I don't know what they're doing on Twitter at halftime anyway, but he tweeted at halftime apparently. He said, boys, we need, or something to the tune of this base. He says, boys, we need to go out there and get stuck into these now. This is where they're at their most vulnerable, the first 15 minutes of the second half. It was a very interesting tweet from Shay Adams, wasn't it?
I didn't see it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, apparently I seen it there. Yeah, I seen it today actually, and I couldn't believe I didn't see it yesterday. But I know on some of the other footballing channels they were talking about it. That Shay Adams had tweeted, "This is where United are at their most vulnerable, boys. This is where we need to get stuck in now," and that's exactly what they did.
Well, we've conceded goals pretty much in that time frame in the last 3 games in a row.
Yeah,
you know. So yeah, I think maybe it's a slow start coming out from that second half. Lads aren't at it straight away. I don't know whether they need to cut the half time in half and get them out there, doing some little moves and getting control of the ball and stuff like that, rather than going in and sitting down for 15 minutes, resting on your laurels, and then trying to get up and go at it straight away. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It does seem like they're kind of they're leaving a little bit in the tank. Like, I don't necessarily think that by the time the game is finished, they look like they're out on their feet. So that would tell me it's not physical, It would definitely tell me there's a mental situation here. Again, like the psychologist thing, I get the idea behind it, but really and truly, like, there shouldn't be an issue there, should there? You're football players. This is about going and winning football matches. Like, if you go through, and I would do this in my own job, as a sportsman and as an athlete, you don't go into a game just thinking about the result. If you go in and all you're thinking about is the result, you're not going to get the result, because you're not going to do those 3 or 4 things that you have to do to get the result. So there's a process before you get the result, And it looks to me like they're so focused on those 3 points, they're forgetting to hit all their little spots along the way. They're forgetting to every man cover 12k in the game. They're forgetting to have a certain amount of passes. They're forgetting to get a certain amount of shots on target. If they do all these things, they'll win games of football. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's also, I find there's obviously a lack of confidence there, obviously, because I know they're going out in the second half and they're probably thinking, Jesus, this is going to happen again. Because when a team, it's not that United are a poor team. They're not a poor team, but they seem to be going out in those second halves and they're lacking that confidence. And it's like as if they're nearly expecting it to happen. And it's just that wave of that lack of confidence. Plus, I think at times in the second half, with that mental fatigue as well, you run out of ideas. So you're taking an extra touch. You're not doing naturally what you would do in terms of squaring a ball or moving a ball down the channel. Everything seems to be a tough job. Even the simplest of triangle pass and movement and stuff like that seems to be torture to them at times in the second half. There doesn't look anything natural about their play second half compared to first half. Like the other day, if you look at Paul Pogba, who put in, I think, a really good shift, more or less, first half, most of the first half, but the drop off second half was sensational. Bruno Fernandes, I couldn't tell you now what position Bruno Fernandes plays in. I couldn't tell you where Rangnick wants him to play. He's all over the pitch. He's everywhere.
Yeah, he is, and that's, it's a good and a bad thing, isn't it? It's a guy standing up to be counted as well, because he's certainly not shying away from taking the ball. But as you say, like, you want Bruno getting the ball in certain areas. If he's playing, the 2 number 8s, so to speak, behind our sort of wide forwards and then Ronaldo, that's fine. Like, and if he's going to be in there, but so often I'm looking at him and he's the one taking the ball off the centre backs.
Yeah,
he's dropping that far deep, and you're going, right, lads, there's something wrong here. If this guy's supposed to be feeding the supply chain, he's supposed to be feeding the guys up top, and all of a sudden he's inside our own half taking the ball off Harry Maguire or Varane or one of the fullbacks, But I think, I think there's ways around that also. Not the Bruno thing necessarily, but I think there's ways around the, feeling like they're gonna come back at you. If you do a good enough job at burying them, you can give them the shovel. They're not gonna get out. Do you know what I mean? Put 3 or 4 past them, put them to the sword, and when it's over and done, mentally that'll help you a lot as well. But the first goal is absolutely killing us. And if we look at under Solskjaer, the first goal in every game was killing us as well. But it was an opposite way around. We were conceding the first goal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we went from conceding the first goal to it being like a cattle prod, where we conceded and all of a sudden
inspire you to come back.
It would inspire us to turn up, and, all of a sudden we look like a different football team. Now we get the first goal and the lads are down in tails and go, well, that's us done for the day, lads. We're, you think they were working for Dublin City Council. 6 of them standing around a hole, and you're going, what's happening here, lads? Is anyone getting that done?
Yeah, I think it's a possession thing as well, isn't it? Like if you have good possession and you keep good possession and good ball, you'll control the game. And I often compare it, like when I look at Bruno at the moment, and you mentioned there how he's dropping deep. It's like as if I sometimes have the same problem when I look at Bobby Firmino. I think when he's not in the game or the game is going by him, he drops deep to force himself into the game. But what happens is when you drop deep like that to force yourself into the game, your structure then is all wrong. It's all off. And then you have to
Yeah.
work so much harder to try and make that work because you're trying to move from one position into your position while
Yeah.
carrying and moving the ball. And I just think at times it's
And I mean,
just
how quickly that ball moves, if you're only seconds behind it, you're going to look pretty silly at times because you're not going to be in the area where you need to be.
Absolutely. Like seconds in the Premier League is 10 yards.
That's where I'm going with it. Yeah, absolutely. I suppose, like, for me, like looking at what the lads are doing, to a degree, I feel like, yeah, they know what they're trying to do, as in they've been asked to do a certain job. But personally speaking, I don't know if they're actually buying into that, because like you look at, I've seen them say about, Ralph wants them to play the ball forward as much as possible. He feels like he'd prefer, rather than United having the ball in front of their own back four, he prefers to go long and get that ball into the channels, even turn the other back four and maybe try and high press up there and play in the right areas. But the problem with that is, at times, because our midfield consists of Pogba, who maybe doesn't do the tracking back that he's supposed to do, and then Bruno, who's trying to play like rider overs all over the place, when they get past that initial, press of maybe Sancho, Rashford, Bruno, Ronaldo, probably not Ronaldo, then all of a sudden they're in on the likes of McTominay, Varane, and Maguire.
Yeah.
That the gap between back and front is too big,
Massive, yeah. That wide open gap nearly from the halfway line back to your defence.
There's 20 yards either side of the halfway line where they can go maybe unopposed with the ball at their feet. And all of a sudden there's space created and somebody might have to come out of the line, and then there's another space gone there. And, and it seems kind of disjointed like that. And, I understand he's going with the 2-8s at the minute to try and score and create a bit more. But then that harms you when you don't have the 2-6s there in that defensive shape, and especially when, you've got young Harry there who looks like he's running in fucking quicksand. Like the way Brozier just absolutely bullied him on Saturday was embarrassing, if I'm honest. Really, really was. And it doesn't bode well because, you look at the guys at Brighton. You've got Trossard, you got Maupay, you got maybe even Danny Welbeck. Danny's a quick kid with the ball at his feet. He can move. He might be getting on, but he'll absolutely turn Maguire inside out if he gets the opportunity. That it's no two ways about that. The lad Alexis McAllister, there's a lot of good quality there at Brighton. A lot of boys move the ball very, very quickly. Like if you look at Lamptey and Cucurella, the two wing backs here at Brighton, they could cause massive problems for us. Tomorrow, really, really massive problems. You'd have to hope we get the first one, and then they go on and just try and push and push and push, rather than just sitting back on their laurels. It's not Jose Mourinho managing them. It shouldn't be let's go 1-0 up and park the bus. And I don't think that's what he's asking them to do, but that's what it looks like.
Yeah, it's the fear of the inevitable nearly happening again, isn't it? More so than it's just kind of the repeatability of it, and it's just, I suppose, bit of team news anyway. Fred may or may not be available. We're not too sure. He had a positive test for CV19, so we're not sure in terms of him. We know Matic is struggling with a shin complaint.
Happy days.
So we're looking at a situation here. Cavani as well with a groin complaint as well. So we know he's out. Ralph confirmed it today in the presser.
Yeah.
And obviously Mason Greenwood is ongoing, and Eric Boye is also out at the moment. So you're looking at a situation here where you more or less have the same squad going into this game as you had for Southampton. The only difference is, I suppose, you're going to have Alex Telles available, so he's going to be available. Do you put him in instead of Shaw? You're going to have Lindelof available. Does he take the big step and drop Maguire? Hard to know really whether he would do it or not. I'm not too sure.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah. You'd like to see both changes?
Not necessarily both changes, but I'd certainly like to see Lindelof come in ahead of Maguire. You know, I'm not necessarily a huge, I don't necessarily have a huge issue with Shaw. I think you could toss a coin over Shaw and Tellez, and you know, I think there's very little between them. I think at times Shaw's probably the better player for me. You know,
do you think Tellez would be the better player to match up against Lamptey? That's Lamptey's side, isn't it? Cucurella's the other side, isn't he?
Yeah, Cucurella's the other side. Yeah. No, not necessarily. No.
It's just I'm just thinking he's a bit more athletic than Shaw.
I don't think he's that much quicker though. He certainly has like a different body shape, but and I'm only remembering from what they did in pre-season. I'm pretty sure their numbers are very, very similar. You know, so
I just sometimes when I look at Tellez, I think is he a bit cleverer? Where with Shaw, you know what you're getting. It's Luke Shaw 101. You know what he's going to do most times. It's not unusual.
Well, you know, really and truly, I think Shaw's a better defender. You know, I think Shaw's a better defender than Tellez. I think at times Tellez's delivery is better. But for me, certainly Shaw's the better defender, I have to say. If I'm going in against Man City and I'm worried about guys coming from everywhere, Shaw's who I put in. You know, if I'm home against Watford, I might play Tellez because I want him to be marauding up that left-hand side. You know what I mean? So with the likes of Lamptey there tomorrow night, I think Shaw's a good bet for us, if I'm honest. Dalot on the opposite side. And I 110% want to see Victor Lindelof in there beside Raphael Varane. I think Maguire's been poor to say the least. McTominay will obviously play, you know, Bruno and Pogba. If I'm honest, the only change other than Maguire I'd really, really like to see is I'd like to see Ronaldo taken out. I think I'd play Lingard on the left and I'd play Sancho on the right with Rashford through the middle. I just think, looking at the game at the weekend, Ronaldo may as well have been redundant. He was just shockingly bad. He really, really was.
That's why I'm thinking if you play Tellez, I mean, Tellez ball into the box is a little bit better than Shaw's, isn't it? And I'm just thinking if you play Tellez there and you had Ronaldo getting on the end of them, you might get a bit more joy in front of goal.
He's not getting on the end of anything, though. He's not winning headers. He's not forced to the ball. And, you know, you can put balls in the box all day long. Right now, he's not the Ronaldo that we know. He's not. And he spoke recently about, for the first time, feeling like he was getting old. And for the first time ever, he looks like he's getting old. You know, he looks like the years are finally starting to catch up with him. I think I'd go with Lingard, Rashford and Sancho, if I'm honest. I don't believe we can keep playing with Ronaldo if we want to get results, because I don't think, A, the work rate is there, and I don't think, B, he's sharp enough for some reason at the minute. If that's a mental thing, if he's switched off, you know, I know things maybe aren't going his way, but I really feel like he's a passenger at the minute.
Yeah, you mentioned Dalot there. Is there a case to be made tomorrow night for Aaron Wan-Bissaka with his defensive tackling against the likes of Cucurella?
No.
No? You're sticking with Dalot? No.
You've got to stick with Dalot. You know, on recent performances, he's been very, very good. Like, he's much improved. His time in Milan certainly didn't do him any harm. You know, his delivery is far superior to anything what Aaron Wan-Bissaka has. And I think defensively, you know, we spoke about Wan-Bissaka being so good at these recovery tackles. They're called recovery tackles. They happen because you're out of position. I think Dalot has probably got a better positional sense, and he's been caught out a lot less than Wan-Bissaka has and stuff like that, you know. So no, not for me.
Okay. Team news for Brighton anyway. Jeremy Sarmiento and Mwepu remain unavailable through injury. Yves Bissouma could get a start. Trossard is pushing for her partner Maupay, which would mean Danny Welbeck would drop to the bench in a 3-5-2. Obviously, yeah. Adam Lallana's in there. We know Adam Lallana obviously likes playing against United. And obviously we know about the boy Lamptey. We're big fans of the boy Lamptey and has often been linked with yourselves in terms of a move in a wing-back role. So looking at possible lineups here at the moment, what they're looking at here at the moment is De Gea, Dalot, Varane, Maguire, Telles, McTominay, Pogba, Rashford, Fernandes, Sancho, and Ronaldo. That's what the possible lineup is there. For Brighton, Sanchez, Veltman, Dunk, Webster, Lamptey, Lallana, Basuma, Mauder, Cucurella, Maupay, and Trossard. That's a strong Brighton side, isn't it?
Yeah, it's solid, isn't it? You know, there's no glaringly obvious issues around the pitch where you could say, let's have a go here, let's have a go there, you know. You're going to have to be very, very good to break them down and stuff like that, as we see week to week generally, you know. They create an awful lot of opportunities. They're good on the ball. They get behind it well. They block off the space. They're a super footballing team.
Yeah, they're coached very well, isn't there? There's a nice balance and a structure to them as well in terms of how they move around the pitch. They move forward in groups and back in groups and stuff like that. They don't. You rarely see a Brighton player being loose out of formation. They normally hunt together in packs very well, and their formation is normally very, very solid. Well coached by Graham Potter.
And I suppose if you look at, you know, the Southampton game is very, very similar to the Brighton game. A team of inferior individuals coached better to be a better all-round team.
Yeah.
And that's what we're fighting against at the minute. You know, there's no doubt, like if you're a manager worth your salt and you look at the two squads, which one are you taking? You're taking United's all day long. Yeah. You know, but we know that Brighton are so well drilled by Graham Potter, and we know he has them, you know, playing the way he wants, and everybody out there buys into it, and they're putting, you know, 110% effort in. They're running the legs off each other. They've got quality as well. You know, I just think they're such a good side, but I think it comes from him the same way I think at the Saints it comes from the Governor Ralph, you know.
Yeah, it's something we talk about United a lot on the Monday mashup and stuff like that. It's an identity, isn't it? They have an identity. When Brighton take to the pitch, we know what they're going to do. They're going to be full on. They're going to be structured. They're going to be drilled. There's going to be a formation. It's going to be identifiable in terms of Graham Potter. They're going to give you 120% every single time. These lads will run through a wall for this guy. They'll give you 95 minutes plus every single game, no matter what you need. And they'll fight hard and long for him to get something out of every game. In terms of betting, United are 8-11 on. The draw's 11-4, and Brighton are 15-4.
Draw's not a bad price, is it?
The draw's not a bad price, but even Brighton's price is quite a long price considering when you look at both teams going into the game.
Like, I haven't looked at it yet, but you know, sometimes when I think some of these results are going to go a certain way, I look at the double chance, which is Brighton and the draw. You know, or you can even go draw no bet. Now, Paddy Power do draw no bet, and they do the double chance where you can get the draw and a particular team. The price will be different, but I mean, if you've got 2 of the 3 results covered and you just don't think they're going to get over the line, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's finish up. Give us a prediction. Who's going to score and what's the score going to be?
Gotta vote with me heart, I suppose, instead of their head. It's usually not something I do, but
combination of the two normally works good.
I'm gonna have to say 2-1 United.
2-1 United.
You know, I think Brighton will score. I think it'll be very tough for us, but I have to think with the way the results have been going for us, you know, everybody's been dropping points when we need them to. It's tailor-made for us to go on a little run here, but we need to start picking up wins. So I'm going to go 2-1 United. And I am going to go Jadon Sancho because I think he's really starting to show up for United. And I'm going to go Paul Pogba.
Nice. And I suppose it's Maupay for Brighton, is it? Kind of has to be, doesn't
it? I'm going to go Trossard.
Nice pick. Interesting. I'm thinking the same scoreline. Although the only thing I'm worried about in tomorrow night is we have spoke that United are due to give a team an absolute pulverising if they can put away some of these opportunities that they're creating. So I was also thinking aloud as well, and I was thinking this could either be a draw or this could be like a 5-1 to United or something like that, where you get one of those nights where a couple of those chances just go in.
I don't think when we go with this, you know, I do think we're going to thump someone. I spoke to you about it before. it won't be Brighton.
No.
Nope.
Right, so we'll stick with 2-1. So you went
We'll
with
stick with
Trossard,
2-1.
Trossard for Brighton, and for United, Pogba and Sancho.
That's it.
Absolutely. Remains to be seen. It'll be an absolute, we'll see. That'd be a great result for you as well, considering all the results around you so far.
Absolutely.
With bad results, you've hung in there. You're definitely not out of it yet at this stage.
Conte's doing a terrific job there at Spurs. Thank the Lord.
Maybe he's the guy who's lined up for you for June, is he? That's why he's doing it. Who knows? But listen, a pleasure having you on. If you want, folks, drop your predictions down there in the comments. Also, like and share and subscribe to the channel. And we will talk to you again real soon. Cheers, my friend.
Thanks, brother.